Now I'm a cop, sweetheart. I say what happened. She smirked in court, her eyes full of defiance. The black man remained silent, his gaze unwavering. But then, he pulled something from his wallet that made the entire courtroom fall silent. A military ID card. Not just any rank, but one with special distinction. If you believe truth deserves protection, type truth in the comments. This story will keep you at the edge of your seat. Marcus Johnson, 34, African-American, former Marine, just returned after 3 tours of duty. Back home, he chose to live quietly, working as a delivery driver in a small southern town. One late evening, while delivering packages to an upscale neighborhood, he was stopped by a white female police officer. She accused him of suspicious loitering, demanding to check his vehicle documents and search him. Marcus complied, calmly explaining he was making deliveries, the invoice still in his hand. But she called for backup, and things spiraled out of control when he was pushed against the vehicle, handcuffed, and charged with resisting an officer. The body camera on her uniform conveniently malfunctioned at that exact moment. Marcus was detained. His name appeared in the local paper. Unknown suspect apprehended by brave officer after causing disturbance. His few friends turned their backs. Neighbors looked at him with suspicious eyes. He never told anyone about his military past. He wanted to be treated like a normal person, but the system wouldn't leave him in peace. A few days later, he received a court summons, no appointed attorney, no one standing by his side. The court date was set for the following Tuesday, giving him barely enough time to understand the charges against him. The public defender's office was overwhelmed with cases and could only spare a brief phone consultation. Just plead guilty to the lesser charge, the overworked attorney suggested. It'll be easier for everyone. But Marcus knew what he had done, and more importantly, what he hadn't done. The delivery company had placed him on unpaid leave pending the outcome of his case. Without that income, his small apartment and modest life were already at risk. That night, Marcus sat alone in his living room, staring at the shadow box containing his medals. 3 Purple Hearts, a bronze star, commendations that once meant something. He had never used his veteran status for special treatment, had never wanted to be seen as anything but a regular civilian trying to rebuild his life. The local VFW hall had reached out when he first moved to town, but Marcus had politely declined. The war is behind me, he told them. Now he wondered if that had been a mistake. In the days before the hearing, Marcus prepared himself mentally just as he had before combat missions. He reviewed the incident in his mind repeatedly, recalling every detail of the encounter, every word exchanged. The truth was simple. He had been doing his job, following his delivery route, when confronted by an officer who had already decided he didn't belong in that neighborhood. He tried contacting witnesses, residents who might have seen the interaction from their windows, but doors closed quickly when he approached. One man even threatened to call the police again. The morning of the court date, Marcus ironed his best shirt, polished his only pair of dress shoes, and caught the early bus downtown. He carried nothing but his wallet, containing his ID, the summons, and a faded photograph of his unit. As the courthouse came into view, its imposing columns and stone steps seemed designed to intimidate. Just tell the truth, he reminded himself. That's all you can do. On the court date, Marcus wore a white shirt and jeans, sitting alone in the corner of the room. The police officer, Officer Dana Whitmore, dressed in full uniform, with a Woman of the Year medal, displayed prominently at the witness stand. She portrayed herself as a victim of intimidation, describing Marcus as having threatening behavior and antagonizing with sarcastic remarks. The prosecutor joined in, painting a picture of a person of color dissatisfied with society. No one mentioned that Marcus had been a staff sergeant serving on the front lines in Afghanistan. No one brought up his 3 medals for bravery or how he had saved his fellow soldiers from a mine explosion. Only Marcus's eyes, not arguing, not fighting, just looking straight ahead as if too familiar with unfair trials. A white man in the audience whispered, "That guy must have done something terrible." A young woman pulled her son away. "Just look at his face and you know he's not decent." The court prepared to announce the verdict. Officer Donna's report was considered the strongest evidence. The judge began reading the charges, while Marcus remained silent, hands folded. Then suddenly, he pulled a thin wallet from his pocket, taking out a worn military ID card. The numbers faded, but the rank and service time clear. Before the court pronounces judgment, I just want to confirm, I am a soldier, he said. The entire courtroom paused. The judge examined the card carefully. His expression changed. You were with the 10th Marine Brigade? Marcus nodded, eyes not leaving position. Silent, but a silence that carried weight. This is when I felt a lump in my throat. A soldier, standing alone, against an entire system that had dismissed him. The judge adjusted his glasses, studying the ID card more carefully. His demeanor shifted subtly, less dismissive, more attentive. Mr. Johnson, why didn't you mention your military service earlier in these proceedings? Marcus straightened his shoulders slightly, the posture of a man accustomed to standing at attention. Your Honor, I didn't think it should matter. I believe every citizen deserves fair treatment, regardless of their background. A murmur passed through the courtroom. Officer Whitmore shifted uncomfortably at the witness stand, her previously confident expression faltering. The prosecutor quickly interjected, Your Honor, while we respect Mr. Johnson's service, it has no bearing on the events of that evening. The officer's testimony clearly establishes, I'd like to hear Mr. Johnson's full account, the judge interrupted, returning the ID card and gesturing for Marcus to continue. Marcus spoke clearly, recounting the events exactly as they had occurred, how he had identified himself as a delivery driver, how he had presented his company ID in the delivery manifest, how Officer Whitmore had ignored his explanation, escalating the situation without provocation. I followed every instruction, Your Honor. I know the protocol. I've been trained to remain calm under pressure. As he spoke, an elderly man in the back of the courtroom leaned forward, listening intently. He wore a VFW cap, decorated with pins from various campaigns. His eyes never left Marcus. The judge turned to Officer Whitmore. Officer, you stated in your report that your body camera malfunctioned. Have you experienced similar technical issues before? She hesitated a fraction too long. Occasionally, Your Honor. It's department-issued equipment. And yet your fellow officers' cameras function reliably, the judge noted, including during the same shift, according to department records. Officer Whitmore's confidence visibly crumbled. The carefully constructed narrative was beginning to unravel. If your heart is also tightening, type honor to remember those who defended freedom, even though they never call themselves heroes. When the ID card was held up, someone in the courtroom suddenly stood. It was former Colonel William Grant, now working as a legal advisor for the county. Your Honor, I request permission to testify as a witness. Everyone turned to look. He stepped forward, confirming that Marcus had served under his command, had saved 3 soldiers, and received a prestigious honor. Grant pointed toward Officer Dana. I believe her conduct requires reinvestigation. The man she's accusing risked his life to protect the freedoms of this country. The press began reporting. Veterans organizations appeared in court the following day. Numerous people from Marcus's former unit wrote letters confirming he was a man of integrity who had never been disciplined. Social media shared, from accused, he became a voice for forgotten veterans. The trial shifted direction. The prosecutor, flustered, requested an adjournment to review the evidence again. The city's police chief opened an internal investigation into Officer Dana and discovered she had a history of ethical violations. When Marcus walked out of the courthouse, some stood at attention saluting him, others patted his shoulder with respect. He didn't speak, just nodded slightly, then left. On the front page of the next morning's newspaper, the headline read, "A soldier needs no weapon to defend his honor, just the truth." Colonel Grant approached Marcus outside the courthouse steps. Staff Sergeant Johnson, it's been a long time. Marcus stood straighter instinctively. Colonel, I didn't expect to see you here, sir. I'm on the county legal advisory board now. When I saw your name on the docket, I couldn't believe it. Then I heard what happened. The colonel shook his head. This isn't the first incident with Officer Whitmore. There's a pattern. Within hours, veterans began calling the courthouse and police department. Former members of Marcus's unit created a support group online, sharing stories of his leadership and courage. Diarrhea stand with Marcus started trending locally. A reporter from the city paper contacted Marcus for an interview. At first he declined, uncomfortable with the attention. But Colonel Grant convinced him that his story needed to be told. It's not just about you anymore, son. It's about every veteran who comes home and faces prejudice. It's about accountability. The following day, as Marcus returned to court, he found the hallway lined with veterans of different ages and backgrounds. Some wore uniforms, others just caps or pins identifying their service. They nodded respectfully as he passed. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere had changed dramatically. The prosecutor approached before proceedings began. Mr. Johnson, in light of new evidence and testimonials, we're prepared to drop all charges and issue a formal apology. The judge entered, and once court was in session, Officer Whitmore was noticeably absent. Her supervisor appeared instead, looking grave. Your Honor, the department has placed Officer Whitmore on administrative leave pending a full investigation into this incident and several similar complaints. We extend our sincere apologies to Mr. Johnson and thank him for his service. The case was dismissed with prejudice, meaning it could never be brought again. As Marcus gathered his things, the judge asked to speak with him privately in chambers. I served too, the judge said quietly. Not in combat, JAG Corps, but I understand the transition back to civilian life. If you ever need anything, my door is open. As news spread, the delivery company reinstated Marcus with back pay and a formal apology. The CEO, a Navy veteran himself, called personally. We should have stood by you from the beginning. That's on us. 3 other individuals came forward with similar stories about Officer Whitmore, emboldened by Marcus's vindication. The police department accelerated its review of body camera policies and bias training. Colonel Grant introduced Marcus to several veteran advocacy groups where his quiet dignity and resilience made him a natural spokesperson. Though reluctant at first, Marcus began to see how his experience could help others. Sometimes the hardest battle, he told a group of newly returned veterans, is the one you fight when you come home. Marcus didn't countersue, didn't demand compensation for damages to his reputation. He continued working as a delivery driver, now with a slightly lighter smile when meeting customers. One day, a child of a customer receiving a package asked, "Were you a soldier?" Marcus was surprised. "How did you know?" "My dad told me about what happened in court. He said you're a real hero." Marcus ruffled the boy's hair, saying nothing. That weekend, in the city park, a small group of veterans organized a gathering to thank him. No stage, no cameras, just firm handshakes and a few misty eyes. A young soldier said quietly, "Thank you for standing firm. Because of you, we see that truth can still prevail. Some people don't need to win. They just need to be recognized as right. And for a soldier, that's the greatest reward." 6 months later, Marcus was promoted to training supervisor at the delivery company. He implemented a veteran recruitment program that became a model for other businesses in the region. Officer Whitmore eventually resigned from the force after the internal investigation revealed a pattern of misconduct. The police department instituted new accountability measures, including stricter body camera protocols and community oversight. When asked by a reporter if he felt vindicated, Marcus simply said, "I just want everyone to be treated with dignity. That's what we fought for overseas. That's what we should expect at home." The judge who presided over his case invited Marcus to speak to law students about the importance of equal justice. His quiet confidence and lack of bitterness made a profound impression. Justice isn't about winning, he told them. It's about restoring balance when something's been taken away, like dignity or truth. On Veterans Day, Marcus finally visited the local VFW hall. He didn't share his story. He just listened to others. But when he left, he had a sense of belonging he hadn't felt since coming home. Sometimes, he reflected, the war follows you back, but so does the brotherhood. Subscribe to TT Hero Stories if you believe courage, honor, and truth remain worthy of pride. TT Hero Stories. Because some heroes never stop serving.